Welcome to the Radiantpreneur Rising Show with me, Jess Tomlinson. Interviews to inspire a new movement of leaders and entrepreneurs. The ones who lead with vulnerability and authenticity, stand in visibility, allowing themselves to truly be seen, are fierce and playful and sexy. Choose business as a spiritual practice. Seek collaboration versus competition. No, giving back is not an option. It's a necessity. They do it their way. They radiate. They rise. Now, let's rise together. All right. Welcome, everyone, back to the Radiantpreneur Rising Show. I'm Jess Tomlinson, and I'm really excited for today's guest, Jovhanna Tisdale. I was snooping on her Instagram this morning. We recently got connected by one of my dear friends and previous guests of this show, Christina Mbuviag. And Jovhanna just looks like such a big-hearted, amazing healer who focuses on something that you guys know that I'm obsessed about, which is love, really coming back to the heart healing. I used to be a relationship coach a long time ago, so I'm always excited to connect over this topic of healing the heart. And Jovhanna doesn't know this, but actually 3 years ago, exactly during this time, I was doing a experience for people to be part of called Holiday Heartbreak Survival Kit. And it was like bringing all these people together with resources to heal their hearts and really talk about how it can be tough during the holidays, which if you're watching this when it comes out live, it will be during that time. So a lot of background, but I want to get to our amazing guest. So welcome, Jovhanna. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited and honored to be a guest here.
Yay, I'm excited to have you. So the one question that I do ask at the beginning, because this is a show for what I call Radiantpreneurs, which is really women that are showing up like you are in their purpose, and really prioritizing their visibility. And so I'm curious for you how you are currently leaning into your visibility edges, whether that's in life or business or both right now.
I would say right now it's in a bit of both. And there's a lot of just shedding, the rules. A lot of times, especially in business, there's be authentic, and all these different little caveats, but do it this way. And so it's just like letting all of that go to just be who I am and live the life that I've been called to lead, and then show up in my business as, I'm supposed to do my soul's work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love this because one of the things that I'm constantly saying is to shed the shoulds
Mm.
around how we're told we're supposed to show up, right? It's like, I love that you bring that up, that it's like, be authentic, but do this, which is another thing that I keep bringing up. It's like authenticity has become like not what it actually is. Like there's all
Authentic.
these, right, there's like these caveats in this culture of really like walking the path as a spiritual entrepreneur. It's like we're told these things, and yet authenticity has become a formulaic thing as well. So I love that you bring that up. How is that showing up for you? How are you releasing those shoulds, or what are maybe some of those shoulds that you've carried with you that you're now like letting go of, and what are you shifting into?
Oh boy. I think for me, it's mainly having to be in certain places or connect in certain ways. And for me, it's like, what does my heart want? What does my heart want? What feels good to me? What resonates with me? Where do I feel comfortable? And not so much, there's a lot of like also blocking out noise. We can get into a mode where we're like over consuming and not producing, not showing up because we feel like we can't, because there's so much to learn. But the learning comes in doing, and the growth comes in showing up. So for me, it's just staying like in my lane, kind of with my blinders on, and just being really focused and centered on like, what does my heart need, and how can I show up and serve today? So for me, also just pulling back into my daily rituals, making sure I don't touch, my phone, my laptop, anything until like I connect with myself and pull some cards and see where I need to go and how I need to be supported. And that has been a big shift. I think a lot of visibility concerns or issues, especially for me, it's like confidence, like not believing in myself because you're told, okay, like, you've got to show up, you've got to be authentic, but you might not want to do this, or, don't say that, or you need to be here and look like this. And it's just like, but I thought I was supposed to just be me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just, and it also brings up like kind of like little Jovhanna, like that inner child stuff. And so just being aware of like, okay, what's making me feel uncomfortable? What's stopping me from showing up? And how can I put some love around it and send it on its way so that I can keep moving forward?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. The inner child work is so powerful. I know both for me and for the women that I've supported, it's like our little girls or little boys or little people, like just we get to that place when it feels like something that's so risky as visibility, where we're really being seen and when we're showing ourselves. And if we're truly wanting to be authentic and open up, it's like we really need to nurture that part of ourselves that is afraid and feels like it's unsafe for. And so I love that you just take that time in the morning to really connect with yourself and pull some cards. And I try to do that too. I'm not always the best at it because I have so much energy in the morning and I want to like, get to things, but I have a strict policy that I never touch my phone as the first thing. Like I'll read a book, have my coffee. And even if it's just for a few minutes, like just prioritizing that time is so powerful.
Yeah. And even like some days it's not a whole process. It might just literally be 2 minutes of just peace and connection. Because like you, I'm like, okay, I've got things to do. Let's get these things done. So even if it doesn't have to be like an hour long thing, just 2 minutes, 5 minutes, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Is there I know this is probably a big question, but is there kind of a regular practice or way that you like to specifically connect with your heart during those moments where you're taking some time for yourself?
So I do a meditation, and one of the things that I do during that meditation is not only like just kind of connect with my heart, but also with the heart or the energy of my business and of the clients that I want to serve. And it makes a big difference because you are connecting to what you've created and the people that you're here to touch. And it helps you block out the noise because you've already made a heart-centered connection. So anything outside of that, it's like, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't need that. I know where I'm going and what I'm supposed to do. So that's one thing I say that, I sit down and just really connect into that energy. And that is so helpful. So helpful.
Yeah. I love that you say the energy of your business as well. Like our businesses, oftentimes I really forget this, but our businesses have their own energy. Like we are a part of that, but we're not the entirety of, our missions or our purpose and how we yeah, that energy of the business. Speak a little bit more to your viewpoint on that, if you would.
Sure. So, like babies, right? Our business is kind of like a baby. And so it went from inspiration to idea to creation. And so now it's living and it's breathing. And I find that when we kind of like are able to respect it or look at it as its own entity, as its own, having its own energy, its own pulse, we kind of connect with it differently. We remember that it's separate from us, but yet it's a part of us. And it just helps us to really connect in and feel into what our business needs from us as well.
I love that. Yeah, what our business needs. It's like, yeah, that nurturing, really nurturing that piece, which I know you're so big about since you're all about the heart. So, I'd love to hear, I'd love to hear, I love how excited you get when I say that. That's like, such like a point of being in alignment. I think that's like an important point I want to bring up right now too, is like, um, for everybody listening, like just watching Jovhanna's joy, like knowing that she's all about the work that she does. Like, if you're not experiencing that joy in your work right now, then there's probably some misalignment. There's needing to get back to that connection, whether it's through the heart or maybe a practical piece of your business that needs to shift so that you can really have that joy that she is having. So I just wanted to shine the light on that, because I know so many women entrepreneurs are just kind of plugging along, and really afraid to make those necessary shifts to reconnect.
Yeah. I've had
Yeah.
those moments too where it's like, I don't like, what am I doing? This isn't fun for me anymore. Where's the resistance and
Mhm.
why is it not fun? And it's usually because you've diverted off your path just a little bit. And
Yeah.
so, being able to bring it back and remembering, like, what am I creating? Why am I creating this? Makes a
Mhm.
really big difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's as simple as really reconnecting with your why. I know that's something that can help a lot of people when I suggest that. And then there's kind of the spectrum, right? Of you have maybe evolved so much on this path, and perhaps what you originally started out of, either it's not in alignment anymore, or maybe it never was in the first place, and you really created your business out of should, like, I should do this because this is the fastest way to make money, or going back to like what you first started with and releasing those should.
Yeah, and it can be something as simple as you're, on a platform that you don't love.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, would you be willing to share a little bit about a time when you maybe felt like you were either carrying some of those shoulds, or you were misaligned, or how you reconnected back to your why? What was that like for you?
I think part of it was me resisting even being in like a love coach, a love healer, like getting into that space because I avoided it. And I was working with a mentor at the time, and she's like, well, no, that's kind of where you're supposed to be. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. And so there was just a lot of resistance. And I spent so much time dancing around it, doing everything but just walking into it and owning it. And so, of course, spent time creating things that no longer are in alignment. And like you mentioned, Christine, at the beginning of the call, I had a soul purpose reading with her, and my soul gift is divine love. It's
I
healing.
was
And
gonna say, is it the fourth chakra?
it
Right?
is. And so then I was like, oh, now I get it. Now it
Yeah.
makes sense. And part of my resistance was that, like, I've had a lot of traumatic relationships, but on the flip side, that's kind of what makes me great at what I do and why my journey has been what it is. And that
Yeah.
allows me to help people in a different way. So, getting to a place where I was able to sit with my gift and accept it was
Mhm.
monumental in helping me shift. And it seems like once I said, okay, this is who I am, everything
Mhm.
started coming together.
Wow. I want to know how that happened. Like, I want to dive like a level deeper. Like, what was it for you that actually like brought you to that place of accepting your gifts?
Looking at my life and the things that I've overcome. So many moons ago, I was in an abusive relationship, and that kind of just set my life off like on a different path. And that's kind of also what opened me up into healing and spirituality and crystals and all of the things that I do now. And that's also why I wanted to avoid it, because, like, how could I help other people, with all of this baggage and all of this pain that I've experienced? And having to look at these darker moments in our lives and finding, the light in the shadow, and being able to marry them together to find the sweet spot, the good in it all. That was very helpful because I had to kind of own that part of me, because it wasn't something that I readily talked about. And that kind of goes back into authenticity and visibility. So getting comfortable telling that story really helped me, and telling it publicly, to just own it. Like, this is life, and sometimes these things happen, and being able to own that allowed me to show up in a way that really not only helped me connect with the women that I serve, but just allowed me to just own this space in a deeper way.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds like it's really, for you, it was about your story, really taking what could be viewed as like, oh my gosh, I've gone through so many heartbreaks, and like, I've had this abusive relationship. So who am I to be talking about love, you know? And shifting that and saying, actually, because I went through this, I am a powerful advocate for people to heal their hearts and to, really embrace what like true love is really all about, not what we think that it is sometimes.
Yes, and one of the things that I've discovered is love itself is, it's an energy. And like you said, we need to discover true love, because a lot of what I see in relationships, whether it's on TV or just, reading through forums, it's not love. And like, we are all starving for love on some level. And until we can clear out all the fear and misconceptions around it, then we'll continue to struggle in not only in our relationships, but in different areas of our life also.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. um I love this because I just want to give people some perspective, because I often get asked, well, why aren't you a relationship coach anymore? Like, people will ask me that. And what's interesting is I have a different story than you. Like, for me, I also have had readings with Christina where I discovered my soul purpose is actually, I was trying to live from the heart and trying to also live vicariously from the wisdom. So, like the third eye chakra, and do the right thing, be loving, be compassionate, which is part of me. That's a huge part of me. But my true gift is the seventh chakra. So, personal empowerment. So she really opened my eyes up to, the more that I just do what I want to do and I'm the embodiment, I'm an example for other people, no matter what I'm doing. And for me, that was really, really hard, because I was like, oh my God, that feels so selfish. That feels like really scary, like, but I want to live like from this place. And so I had to really accept that for me, the relationship coaching wasn't actually my highest purpose, which was so hard because I love love so much. And like, I have so many great, like, hero's journey type stories of, how I've been able to pick myself up off the ground in times that were really tough, all because of relationships. And so I just want to share that, like, my shift into now what I do around visibility and shining your light and stepping into, your power as an authentic feminine leader. Like, it feels so much, it's like there's this part of me over here that I do like miss doing that work, but this just feels so much more natural. So I want to invite people to like take a look at both of our stories and just ask themselves, what alignment might need to come into play. And for all of you, Christina Ambubiagas, who we keep talking about, and she's an intuitive psychic. She does readings on your soul purpose, and we keep talking about the different numbers as the different chakras. So Jovhanna is a 4, which is the heart chakra, and all about like love and compassion. And mine is the 7, which is, and maybe you can talk more about this, because I don't know like a ton about the 7, except for like spiritual, like kind of downloads and like empowerment.
Yeah, so that's more our kind of like the seed of evolution, and
Okay.
like really being in tune like with your higher self, the collective consciousness, all of that. So when you talk about like empowering others and all of that, it makes sense. It really makes sense. So
Gotcha.
yeah, that's so interesting how your story is kind of parallel mine. And living from the heart space can be challenging in today's society. Um, and I think that's part of like my resistance too. But it's such meaningful work and it's such needed work. And when we do what we love and really lead from our heart, not only are we changing ourselves, we're changing the people around us, we're changing the world, and that is definitely what we need.
Yeah, I'm so with you. And I want you to talk more about that. I also am curious, do you have earbuds or headphones? We keep getting like some feedback. That's why you probably see me muting myself on and off. I was trying to get rid of it, thinking maybe it would help if I muted.
Oh, I have the wrong ones. Hang on 1 second.
No worries. Just want to make sure people can hear you.
Let me try this. How is that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. And if not, I can switch to my phone audio to see if that helps.
Okay. I'll probably keep muting myself because now I hear feedback on my end. I hear myself. So we'll try this and see how it works. If it's not better, then I'll have you unplug it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about that. I want to dive into this because I know this is so much of the work you do is really encouraging people to tap into their heart and live from their heart. And so why do you think it's so challenging for people to live from that space?
Oh my goodness. I think, oh, this is a deep question. I think for one, a lot of us, our parents didn't really know how to love, right? They weren't in that love and hug society. It was kind of like tough grit, hard work. So I think that's part of it. I also think that the way, advertising and media is set up, there's a lot of messages that are telling people, you're not enough. You should look like this, and you need to fix this part about you. Um, there's just so much that picks away from our love as we grow up. And I see this like in my children, like when my oldest daughter, she's going to be 17 soon. Wow. But
wow, oh my gosh, you do not look old enough to have a 17-year-old.
Well,
That's amazing.
But I noticed, like, when kids are born, they're super confident. Every single thing they do is just, look at me, this is great, I'm so awesome. And then I noticed, like, when she started going to school, of course, now people are picking on you. You're out of that comfortable bubble of home. And so we start to lose bits and pieces of our confidence. And of course, as parents, we try to pour into, ourselves, our children, our work, or whatever it is as much as possible. But without a strong support system that can help fill up your cup when it's leaking and when it's running low, it makes it hard. It's just, there's too many people that don't know how to love themselves, so they can't love other people. And so once we start to bridge the gap and like basically learn how to love and heal whatever hurts are preventing it, then we can all start to blossom, and then we can all, express our differences without it turning into these big ugly incidents, and be able to respect each other and say, okay, I don't really believe that, but hey, that's cool, I respect your opinion, instead of it turning into, well, you're different than me, so I have to hate you. And it doesn't have to be that way. We can all like coexist and each do our own thing in a way that's respective of ourselves and others.
Yeah, I love this because it's such a larger conversation for like the big problems of our world, like, just horrible things like war and racism and, just all of the things that are really create the most destruction. It's like it all comes back to love, right? And loving ourselves and healing ourselves and that fear of like the unknown, or I'm going to lose a piece of my pie. And so like we can't all have it all and be in this bubble together. Like it has to be pitted against each other. And so just when you were sharing that, that's really what it makes me think of is the larger issues that are at stake.
Right. And it all comes out of like lack and scarcity. Everything is truly abundant. There's an abundance of everything that we need, that we desire. So
Mhm.
we shouldn't have to fight for things. And the
Mhm.
idea of lack or scarcity, I think it's just, I don't want to say a tactic, but kind of, a tactic to keep people in fear, to keep them from stepping outside of the box and coloring outside of the lines.
Yeah. And so, how do you guide people home to what I'm hearing is self love, like these pieces of self love and really abundance? Because when I hear that, I started as a self care coach. I've been all sorts of coaches, and for that very reason, that I really didn't know how to take care and love myself. I really was very externally focused, because that's how I grew up. It was like you put yourself last, you take
Mhm.
care of everybody else around you. And that's how I learned how to receive love. So I went on this journey, of really like I know all the different things that I did, and it wasn't easy, and it took a lot of like trust and getting over these notions of like selfishness. So I'm curious for you, like what are some of those first steps that you guide people towards on this journey of really loving themselves?
I think the first step is to get them to focus on themselves. A
Mm,
lot of the clients that come to me, they're worried about, well, my partner, or, are we going to get back together, or, this issue with my family. And I'm like,
mhm,
first you have to focus on you, and
mhm,
really getting them to turn inwards, because that is where they can truly do the work. And
mhm,
then we can like look at the external situations and circumstances and figure out how better to respond to them. And I think that is a part that is missing when a lot of people come, it's for, relationship coaching or healing. They want to know about other people and our relationships and how we show up, all of that. It truly starts with us. The self-love component, really valuing ourselves, the trusting and believing in ourselves, having self-awareness to know when we're giving too much, when we're not taking enough care of ourselves. And that's the hardest part, to kind of get people to like focus on you.
yeah. Yeah, and right, and what's coming to me is it's like can be a scary journey. Like it's actually a way of avoiding, I think, like the work that really needs to be done by looking outside of ourselves and saying, well, what about this person? And we can fix them over here. I want to know what's going on over here. Like it's just a sneaky way that um that we avoid out of fear, in my opinion, to actually do the work that's need to be done, because it can be like a scary journey to go inside, right, and like actually like look at, okay, what do I need, and what ways do I need to love myself, and like, oh shoot, like it's just me that needs to be like doing this work, me and like, spirit, universe, God, like that can feel a little bit scary. So like what are your thoughts for people that, I know most of my viewers are very much on the spiritual path, that's like one of the big things, but there's still those pieces that I would say, even when we are spiritual entrepreneurs on this path, we prioritize our spirituality and our connection. Like there's still things that we avoid journeying into within ourselves. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think the things that we avoid the most are definitely where we need to shine more light. It's so easy to focus outwardly, because when we look inwards, like you said, it can be scary, because that means we now have to be accountable. We can't, point the finger at anyone anymore. We can't keep doing the same things anymore. It means that we have to change, and change itself is very scary. But we can always start really small, like little micro movements in the right direction are very helpful when we do things like in little bite-sized pieces, so that it's not so grandiose and overwhelming. And it might just be something as simple as, I'm just going to look at myself in the mirror for 30 seconds. Sometimes people don't do that. They just, they get in the bathroom, they do their thing, and they don't really stop to like look at themselves. So something as simple as that is a way to really be aware of you as you are, and looking into your own eyes. It's kind of, you have a conversation with yourself.
Yeah, I know. I remember when I first started doing that, it's just like the first few times, it's just like I bawled.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, like hello, like we're just kind of operating, with these bodies, and we don't actually take that moment to connect with ourselves. And there is a connection there. And for me, that connection is like, God moving through me. And so, like, really having that connection with oneself is like a union
Yeah.
in and of itself. And it's just amazing when you take that time to, like, even look in your own eyes and, like, study the colors. And, like, I love that because it's such a simple but, like, powerful exercise.
It is. It is. And I think once you realize that there's something beautiful and supportive and loving waiting to greet us, I think that makes it a little easier. But there's still that fear, like, well, what's on the other side? What am I going to find if I sit with myself?
Yeah.
And meditation is also recommended, whether you're doing it walking, running, washing the dishes. I find that moving meditation works better for most people. A lot of people can't sit with their thoughts. And so I recommend that as well. Even if you are just like dancing, swaying your body, just moving and just allowing your thoughts without interrupting them, without engaging with them.
Yeah. I'm such a fan of movement too. Like embodiment is a piece that I always come back to. I've been a guest mentor on one of my friends' programs, and somebody asked me, like, how do you actually calm the nerves before you're going to get on video, because video is such a huge piece of visibility, right? And I was like, don't try to talk yourself through it. Like, just get in your body, whether that's breathing. Like, that is the fastest way for you to actually get out of your fears and your heads and whatever anxiety might be going on. And the body is so wise. So I think a lot of people forget that. I just did a post on Instagram. This is a really tough time of year for me because my best friend died 3 years ago, in just a few days, actually. Yeah. And so my body, like, I was talking about how sometimes I forget that my body carries so much grief, like, even that I'm not aware of. And so even if I'm not thinking about this time of year being the year that she died, like, my body just knows. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's that side, but then there's also the flip side of, like, our bodies are so wise and can provide so much guidance to release what we need to release.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like you were saying, movement and getting into our bodies is just another way of really connecting. Um, the more like you walk, you run, you exercise, jump up, whatever it is, it just creates more awareness and more connection. So like, especially like before video, I remember when I was like super nervous, like I would like literally just dance and just
Yeah.
shake, 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 shake. It raises your vibrations. It scatters that um, anxious, or what I like to call misplaced excitement. It
Yes.
scatters that energy, and then you can like show up and now you're pumped and you're just like ready to go.
Yes. I love that. And I love that you say misplaced excitement. I have the same philosophy. I'm like, if you're not a little bit nervous, like, you're probably dead. You're probably like that is energy moving, which means, like, you have something on the line, which means, like, yes, like, this is something that you should be doing,
Right.
um, because you have that energy to channel in your passion and why you're doing this work, right?
Yes, yes, I love that. I love it. And it's all like our emotions, they're all just indicators. They have something to tell us. So if you're feeling afraid, ask it, talk to it, feel into it. If you're
Yeah.
feeling excited or anxious, same thing, like explore them. They're not there just to be like, okay, I'm mad, or okay, I'm sad, so I'm going to cry. It's like, okay, why? Like what's moving this energy through me in this way?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too, the questioning. I am feeling like I want to talk to you about compassion.
Ooh.
Yeah, because that's such a huge piece of like loving ourselves, right? Like self-compassion. What do you just want to riff on? Like, what are your thoughts on self-compassion?
I think that we are not as compassionate with ourselves. We can be so hard on ourselves and so judgmental, um, when we should just give ourselves grace and really just understand that no matter what we do, we're still worthy and deserving of love. But most of all, like, we're worthy of our own love. And so practicing self-compassion is, I think, really important. So, when you do something, you're not like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. You're like, okay, I saw that happen. It's okay. I can do things differently. This was a great learning experience. But instead, we beat ourselves up and we get so down and, oh my God, nobody's going to love me. And I hate myself. I'm so stupid. And you're listening to that. You're pouring those words back into your body when all you can do is just meet challenges with love and just recognize that you are on a journey that sometimes is going to be challenging, other times it's going to be fun, and just allow yourself to go through that journey. And, we're here to have experiences, um, and just allow yourself to really experience life from a non-judgmental place. And judgment and compassion are like two of the biggest things that I think we need more of. We need more compassion for ourselves and for others, and just a little less judgment.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think it's so easy to say, like, have more compassion for yourself. But when people are actually going through it, I know that it can be so tough. And it's like we get wired into the cycle because we think that actually, if we are more loving and compassionate towards ourselves, that somehow we are going to make the same mistake next time, or we're going to experience, something just as horrible or even more horrible if we don't like beat ourselves up, right? And I think for me it's really helpful to be aware that that is something we've been conditioned to believe, but it's not the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah. I see so
Yeah.
many people, like even in relationships, we refuse compassion. And there's some, so, couples will get into arguments or whatever have you, and maybe someone's cheated or whatever the case may be. And, problems like that can be resolved, but oftentimes instead of like opening up to compassion and um, meeting each other heart to heart, we're like, nah, I'm going to hold on to the hurt. I'm going to hold on to the fear, to the anger, and we push the love away. And we push it away so much so that even if we decide not to continue that relationship, we're still blocking love in the next relationship. So it's like compassion just keeps love flowing. It just allows love to continue flowing even when you might even feel like you don't deserve it. It still allows you to say, you know what, I do deserve love, and that's okay. And like you were saying, when we get into these thought patterns, it is hard. And that's why being aware. So once you catch yourself, going in and being judgmental or harsh to yourself, just pause and say, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. And I have to do this too. So I'm not saying like, oh, I've got it all down packed. Like I find myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, did I just say that about myself? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that's
Yeah.
not true. I just need a little more grace and compassion. So it is a work.
Yes.
It's work for sure.
It is. And sometimes it's easier than others. I know for me, if things are going great or if I'm feeling great, then it's a lot easier for me to be like, yay, good job, go. Like, and if I have like a tiny little misstep in my mind or I'm beating myself up, then I can easily dismiss it. But it's like, it again comes back to that like cycle thing, which is if I'm having a harder time and then I kind of like get in a loop of like, beating myself up and like a habit. So like you said, it really is like retraining ourselves to have that loving compassion, to be in our hearts, to, for me, it helps to view myself like in my mind's eye as the little me, little
Mhm.
Jessica, or as my mom would say, Jessica Renee.
Oh,
um, I know, and to see that person and just to like imagine my bigger self, and this is something I do with my clients, my bigger self actually holding her,
yes.
like rubbing her back and like mothering myself, but actually seeing that image is really helpful for me of like, it's okay. Like, oh gosh, I know things are so hard. Like really like giving myself all of those words and that love that I didn't get, when I was a child. And my mom did the best she could, but she, like you were mentioning, we kind of grew up in a society where it was like our parents were very like tough love. I definitely experienced that too. So I don't know if that's something that you've ever done, but I find that super helpful.
Yes. And it's interesting. Recently, Mary J. Blige posted a picture that was kind of like her younger self, and then
Oh
her
my
like embracing and kissing her. And that's exactly, yeah, like that's what we need. Like we have to remember that there's a little person that still within us that still needs love. And when we do view ourselves as little Jovhanna or little Jessica Renee, like it's so much
God.
easier to love, little 2 or 7-year-old us. Like it's just
Yeah.
easier. And so, and we're still like technically babies, like new to life, because
We
everything that we
are.
experience after each moment it's new. So
Mhm.
remembering that this journey is new to us and we're here to learn, and it's okay to make mistakes and just really love
Mhm.
yourself, as you are, and as you grow into who you desire to be.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. It's just, loving each other and teaching ourselves really how to love. And that
Mhm.
can be challenging, but it can be done.
Yeah. I was thinking as you were talking about an Oprah interview. I think it was Super Soul Sunday where she interviewed Pema Chodron. I always pronounce her name wrong. I think it's like pronounced differently, but do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she said one of the tools she uses if she finds herself like judging someone or lacking compassion, is saying, just like me, like in her head, just like me. Like this person is just like me. Like whatever I'm judging them for, I've got that too. Like, and I've been finding that super helpful in my own relationship lately. Like that's been the main thing that's helping me a lot.
That makes sense because we are all mirrors of each other.
Mhm.
And I tell people this all the time, like you're just one step away from being just like that person that you're judging. We could find
Mhm.
ourselves in situations that we would have never dreamed ourselves into.
Mhm.
So it's easy to judge because we don't have all the pieces. We only see things from our perspective, but it's not helping anybody. And so, like you said, just like me, we're all the
Mhm.
same and we can all have the same expressions of energy.
Yeah. What are some of the common themes that people come to you for? Like, what do you hear time and time again during your healing sessions that you do? Or I know you do card readings and then coaching as well, but what are some of those things that you just feel like people say over and over again?
Definitely, will I find love is one of them. A lot of women feel like they will never find love.
Mhm.
Um, and wanting to know like if their partner is loyal. And with
Mhm.
that one, it's really interesting because I'm like, have you asked your partner? Like, have you had that conversation with them? And,
Mhm.
you know, are there actual things happening to make you suspect this? Or is this
Mhm.
fear or self doubt coming up, making you think that you don't deserve love or that you're not worthy of someone being loyal to? Um, but most of it's surrounding fear. There's a lot
Mhm.
of fear energy, and of course trauma from different things, whether it is abuse or even
Mhm.
lack of self-love, things with family,
Mhm.
but fear and kind of trauma, emotional challenges are definitely two of the main things that I see in clients.
Yeah. Are you familiar with NLP type principles at all? You know
I
what
am
NLP?
familiar with a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. I bring this up because somebody who I was close friends with was going through like the master certification. So I got to see his journey um, a few years ago. And I remember he shared with me something that he learned about how our minds, when they are programmed a certain way, say in childhood, and we maybe receive, some sort of trauma, or we get conditioned that love looks like XYZ, we form this pattern in our mind that's because we know that that's how it is, that's actually our safe, like our view of what's safe. Like our
Right.
mind, even though it's not, like our mind thinks that, okay, this is what I experience. So even though I might know in my heart, right, that like this is not the right way, that's not how I'm supposed to be treated, our minds are going to do everything in survival mode to like keep us in the familiar, because
Right.
at least we know how to deal with that, because right now we're still alive. So that means that we know how to get through this thing, which
Yes.
is so fascinating to me. I was like, whoa, that's deep.
And that goes back into why a lot of women stay in abusive relationships, because it's as toxic as it is normal, and you know how to maneuver within your situation. But if you go outside that door, you don't know what's out there, and that's scary in itself. And of course there are other reasons, but you're caught in this cycle that becomes normal to you, so you kind of learn to expect, and it makes it hard. But our minds are just very interesting, but we can relearn patterns. And I think, excuse me, that's why in no matter what type of relationship, it's good to have support, but also have the right support, because some people might just view your situation as entertainment, so to speak. And others might really be there to support you and guide you to say, hey, I don't think this is healthy. Here are some options. How can I help you? How can I support you? Um, so it's just really important to make sure that you do have the right support when our minds have us in these spaces that might not truly be good for us, but we can't see that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit more about like the healings that you do when you work with people around this. I'm really curious, like and I'm guessing they're probably pretty customized, but are there any kind of like standard things that you do to help support people to navigate through?
So depending on their situation, I'll pick crystals that kind of really resonate with their energy. And I do angelic healing. So I can call in certain, archangel energy to support their needs. And I think that's one of my main healing sessions that I really love is the angelic healing sessions. I do also do chakra balancing and Reiki, but I mainly focus on working with the angels, because what I find is that's so supportive. And I hear people, they're like, I just feel like I was wrapped in love. And that's exactly what I want them to feel. And it really centers on the heart, clearing out energies, clearing out grief, and all of that stuff that can kind of clog us up around our heart area. And it's helpful. Like I hear a lot of clients say, I feel so much better. I feel lighter. I felt peace for the first time in such a long time. And so that's one of my favorite healing sessions to do.
I love that. And I know, like, so many women entrepreneurs are, just kind of feeling lonely too. And like, it just reminds me that we don't, like, physical support from community is so important, yes. And sometimes we just need that angelic support to come in and, as you said, like wrap us in a warm blanket of love. And so that's available for people as well. I think that's just a really good reminder when we're feeling, lonely or heartbroken or, yeah. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, and the journey as an entrepreneur can be lonely, especially, if your friends around you, maybe they're not business owners or, looking to get into that, and then throw in, a spiritual business, and then you might be a little more lonely. But, online communities lean into these spaces that are available. So even if they can't be there tangibly with you, there's support, and we can connect through all of these amazing technologies. So you don't have to feel alone. And that's something I had to learn to do, is like ask for support, reach out, when I need help. I was so used to dealing with things by myself that I didn't know how. And that served me not so well for so long. And then I was like, I can't keep holding all of this. Like, especially if you're holding space for other people, you need space for yourself as well. So definitely create a tribe of biz besties or friends that you can connect with, because you don't want to be on this journey alone. You definitely want to have support.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Oh, you're such a warm blanket in and of yourself, Jovhanna. I love talking to you. Yeah, I'm sure you probably hear that a lot, but I'll just reflect that you're, really loving, calm presence. And I've really loved this conversation. I'm curious if there's anything that you want to share to wrap up that I didn't ask you, or just words of wisdom to end on.
I'll say words of wisdom is that love is an energy, and that you are love. You're already loved, and you can't ever run out of love.
So good. And what's your favorite place for people to connect with you? We'll put all the show links over at jessicatomlinson.com/show-40. This is episode 40. But what's your favorite place for people to reach out to you?
I'm loving Instagram, so you can find me there as the Spiritual Love Healer. And, I'd love to connect with you all.
Yay, sounds good. And it's the Spiritual Love Healer?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure if it's just Spiritual Love Healer or because the is very important. So everybody go find Jovhanna at the Spiritual Love Healer on Instagram. Reach out, say hello. Let us know what you think about this episode. I'm super curious. This is probably one of the first episodes where we really dove into the heart. So I'm excited to hear what everybody thinks, since this was a little bit different of a conversation, yet so important. So thank you again, Jovhanna. Appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been an honor. I enjoyed connecting with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. All right, everyone, we will see you in the next episode. Talk soon.